Bandwidth for today's show is brought to you by SoftLayer.com. We love SoftLayer here at Talkopolis. They are the greatest hosting company ever. They make everything easy. Check out their website at SoftLayer.com. Thanks again for sponsoring the show.
All & Cooper CPAs, located in the heart of East Nashville, offer a wide variety of tax services for individuals and businesses. Contact them at 615-257-0646 and visit their website, allcooper.com, for a full list of services.
Well, hello, everybody. I'm Joe Williams. Coming up next on Political Soup, Crom Carmichael has taken the President's State of the Union message, and boy, has he taken it apart. Piece by piece, I think he's going to take a dissection run on the speech. All that, maybe more, coming up next on Political Soup.
From the family grocery hauler to fire-breathing racing engines, the one name you need to know is USA Motor and Machine, located at 51 Cleveland Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. Give them a call at 615-726-3725 or at usamotorandmachine.com. Jeff Meeks and Chris Austin invite you to watch your favorite sports event at the Batter's Box at 43 Hermitage Avenue in Nashville, Tennessee. The Batter's Box offers shuttle service to all Titans home games. It's a great place for friends to gather for the game and after the game. So check out the Batter's Box Bar and Grill, and thanks again for sponsoring the show.
Microcasting for your city, Talkopolis.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome into Political Soup. I'm Joe Williams, along with Crom Carmichael. And Crom, this past week, President Barack Obama gave his fifth State of the Union speech, typically recognized as the most important communication from the president to Congress, both houses, and to the American people. It was expected to be much like his inauguration address. And in some ways it was, some ways it wasn't. Now, I know you have you watch these things with a great deal of interest, and I know you've even done further research on it. The State of the Union, what exactly did the president tell us?
Well, it's better to read his State of the Union speech than it is to watch it if you're really trying to understand it.
Okay.
And so I spent a lot of time, I printed it out and I read it. But in watching it, I will tell you that I felt like I was watching an episode of Saturday Night Live doing an episode on Saturday Night Live. It was so ridiculous. I have to say that buffoon is the word that I would use to describe not only Obama, but also the members of Congress. If you count the vice president, which you need to count as being in the chamber, you've got 535 members of Congress, the president, and the vice president. So you have 537 people there. And Obama would say things. I'll just give you an example, and this is right from his speech. He would say, tonight, I'll lay out additional proposals that are fully paid for and fully consistent with the budget framework both parties agreed to just 18 months ago. Let me repeat, nothing I'm proposing tonight should increase our deficit by a single dime. And at that, the chamber jumps up and claps.
Okay.
And then he proceeds to then offer a bunch of proposals that it is true they won't cost merely a single dime, but they will cost tens of billions of dollars. and then they would leap to their feet again. And hooray, hooray. And it was a joke. Well, and so what we'll do is we'll go through some of the things that he said and then some of the logic behind it. And it's absolutely mind-boggling what he said last night, and actually I guess night before last, and it's just you had to, after you look at it and after you read it, I had to laugh.
Devil's advocate here. If we're proposing new programs that will not increase the deficit, won't cost any more money, bear with me, it's kind of like at my house.
Okay.
I want to do something different, but I don't want to spend any more money. That means something's got to go.
Right.
Did we hear that?
No.
Okay.
No, nothing's going to go. He began his speech with there were three times where he said we need to tax the wealthy. He said we need to reduce the deficit. How do we do that? We tax the wealthy. He said we need to negotiate and fix this sequester. How do we do that? We need to tax the wealthy. Then he said, we need to reform Medicare. How do we do that? We need to tax the wealthy. Now, let me just say this. If you are a spouse of a person in California who's already wealthy, making, say, $500,000 a year, and in San Francisco, that's pretty wealthy, but it's not super wealthy. But if you're a spouse and your spouse is already making $500,000 and you go to work, the very first dollar that you make, you pay 71% in taxes. 71%. And he says, let's raise taxes some more. So reduce the deficit? Are we going to tax that spouse 80%? 90%? And at what point, let me say this, Arthur Laffer has said there are 2 tax rates where you can be assured of collecting exactly 0.
Okay.
Those 2 tax rates are 0 and 100%. If you tax somebody 100%, they will not do anything.
Correct.
What's the point?
2 questions, and I'm still trying to find at least the government's definition of wealthy, because I've got to believe that what would be wealthy in our home base of Nashville might well be struggling in New York City.
Sure.
Miami, some of these other areas, and by the same token, what we consider struggling somewhat in Nashville might be not that bad in some other areas.
Sure.
Everything's based on circumstances.
Right.
The other question that still bothers me is, as a father, as a husband, as a small business owner, as taxes increase on the wealthy, and without knowing what that definition is, the question starts to become, Crom, how much do I want to grow my business before the point of diminishing returns kicks in, where I've made so much money that I've kicked up into the next bracket, and it's killed my ambition because it's just not worth it.
Yeah, you don't want to be in the next bracket,
right.
So you just kind of stop. I asked a group of students, back when I used to teach economics in the high school here under junior achievement, I would say, now let me ask you a question. I said, now these were all seniors. I said, how many of you all think that graduating from high school will benefit you economically? And they all raised their hand. Okay. And I said, now, economically speaking, if I offered you $1 to drop out of high school today and return in 1 year, would that $1 be worth it if we're talking economics? And they go, of course not. I said, but if I offered you $1 million to drop out of school for 1 year, then you come back, pick up right where you left off, graduate from high school and move on, but now you got $1 million. Would that be worth it?
Can I go back and do that?
Yeah, well, almost everybody says, well, yeah, that'd be worth it. And I said, now, here's what's interesting. If I had the time to count $1 at a time from $1 to $1 million, some point along the way, the last dollar I said didn't cause you to raise your hand, but the next dollar did. And every student in there would have a different dollar amount. Okay. Some might do it for $5,000. Some might $10,000. Some might $15,689. But the point is that it's this marginal change, because not everybody reacts. So when you said the small business person says it's not worth it, one small business person might say, you know what, I live in Tullahoma making $120,000. That next tax bracket, it's not worth it. I'm not going to hire any more people. I'm not going to expand my business. I can live on my $120,000. That person, same person living in New York City, $120,000, might not get it, so he might want to make more. But the point is that everybody, and their family situation, if they've got 2 kids, they're trying to send them to get a good education in a private school, they might need to make more than somebody else. Likewise, if you take a low-income person, a woman who is on welfare with 2 children, right now her total federal government benefits are approximately $45,000. That includes aid to families with dependent children, food stamps, Medicaid, housing vouchers, $45,000. The first $9,000 of income that lady makes does not change her benefits.
Right.
From $9,000 to $29,000, every dollar she makes reduces her benefits by 67%. Now, if you take the tax rate of Social Security and Medicare that comes out of that $20,000, she's all of a sudden in the 85% tax bracket. So she chooses not to work. So what we're doing as a government is we're telling women, and this is, Obama says, I'm all for women. I want them to improve. Well, and by the way, from $29,000 to $59,000, it's 100% tax rate.
So they lose it all.
You lose it all. You lose because by $59,000, you don't get any benefits. And so you have given up $45,000 of benefits on your way to $59,000 of income. So what do women do who have 2 children, who are on welfare? They stay there.
Yeah.
And so the government is essentially saying, we want you, this is what they're saying, we want you to live in poverty for the rest of your life, and we want you to raise your children to live in poverty for the rest of their lives. And that's what Obama thinks, and a lot of Democrats think is the right thing to do. But that is the result. So it's this marginal stuff. When he talked about minimum wage, he said we need to raise the minimum wage from $7.25 to $9 an hour. Well, in some cities, $9 an hour is what you have to pay to get somebody to do anything. But in Tullahoma, Tennessee, where the cost of living is low, $7.25 for a teenager working down at a local restaurant might be worth the take-home pay.
Yeah.
But if the local restaurant isn't making much money and it has to raise its minimum wage, all of a sudden the person loses their job. So what would you rather have, a job at $7.25 or no job at $9?
The other thing that I think falls into that also, the minimum wage issue, is the majority, I think, of working class Americans right now are in that, $11, $15, let's say around here anyway, $11 to $15 range. So they're $3 to $7 higher than minimum wage. Well, when minimum wage goes, if it goes from 7.25 to 9, how many of those folks in that 10 or 11, 12, $13 range are going to look and say, where's mine?
Well, they could, but more likely than not, what happens is the number of people who were making minimum wage drops. And it isn't because they make more money than minimum wage, it's because the jobs go away.
Eliminated.
The jobs are eliminated because a business person, there are a lot of small businesses right now, especially now, there are a lot of small businesses that are barely making money.
Right.
And these are owners who are working 12, 14 hours a day, 6 days a week, some of them 7 days a week, and they're barely making money. And if they've got employees who are working part-time, making minimum wage, and all of a sudden they have to raise that minimum wage, not just $1.75, but also then the workman's comp, unemployment benefits, Social Security, Medicare, and all the different things that go on top of that.
Right.
If they do that and they eliminate one job out of 10 to save the money, then your workforce at the minimum wage level drops by 10%. That is a huge drop. And if you look at the result for especially black teenage boys from 16, say, to 21, the unemployment rate today is close to 35%. What do you want to do? Take it to 45%? And if a person can't get their first job, how do they improve? And a lot of people get their first job, learn how to work, learn how to be disciplined, and then they advance.
Yes.
But if they keep raising, if you take a ladder and put it up against the wall, and you keep raising the first rung so that people can't get up on the ladder, where are they the rest of their lives? Standing on the ground. I just find that to be immoral. It isn't just bad politics and bad economics. When you tell somebody, I want you to live in poverty the rest of your life if you can't climb to that fourth rung on the ladder on your first step, and otherwise I'm going to force you to live in poverty the rest of your life, that's just immoral. Just straight up immoral.
And that's just the start to Crom's take on the State of the Union. We have more, and I got a few more questions too. Stick around. I think you're going to enjoy the rest of Political Soup.